And so I think unshakable self-belief comes in having higher belief, getting a higher vision, so that you have to challenge yourself each day to remember how unique and exquisite you really are. And it's a daily bath.
Hey, my name is Jenna Kutcher, and I am obsessed with all things business, marketing, numbers, and helping you to navigate both the messy and the magical seasons of this thing called life. I'm a small town mama who took a $300 camera, grew a successful photo biz, and now I work from home and run a 7-figure online business. I teach you the tried and true secrets to building a career you adore. Shy away from the real talk? No way. Money, hardship, growth, loss, and marketing are all topics we discuss here. Think of this as your one-stop shop for happy hour with a gal pal mixed with business school. Pull up a seat, make sure you're cozy, and get ready to be challenged and encouraged while you learn. This is the Goal Digger Podcast. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you are someone who would love to make more money in your business. But I think even deeper down than that desire is this desire to make an impact. And if I asked you, are you someone who truly wants to make a difference in this world? I bet you are nodding your head right now. And maybe you're wondering, well, how do you do that? My guest today is about to prove to you that in order to profit bigger, you need to live bigger. And in order to live bigger, you need to believe bigger, both in yourself, in your gifts, and in your potential. Marshawn Evans Daniels is a reinvention strategist, an influence expert, and a best-selling author who makes emerging and established women influencers of faith do just that. Believe more so they can make more so that they can ultimately give more. Featured regularly on CNN, Fox Business, and ESPN, her client roster includes HP, Home Depot, Ernst & Young, Delta, Tiffany & Co., Nike, Rolls-Royce, and NFL and NBA athletes. So yes, my friend is a really big deal. Marshawn's book and corresponding 100-day devotional, Believe Bigger, Discover the Path to Your Life Purpose, is all about resilience, reclaiming your life, and how God uses rejection, hardship, and unexpected circumstances to awaken something greater within, but only if you are willing to embrace disruption. Whether you are drowning in self-doubt and regret, feeling stuck, or sensing a shift but unable to discern what's next, this conversation is for you. You'll hear Marshawn outline her purpose map, which are 5 stages of divine reinvention, which will give you insight into your true gifts and calling and give you the courage to pursue it. By the end of this conversation, you'll see that difficulties are not designed to devastate you, but to ignite your bigger dreams, your bigger life, your bigger love, and more abundance that you were destined for all along. I can't wait for you to hear this conversation. It is so powerful. Marshawn, welcome to the Goal Digger Podcast. More to do is less time and an infinite number of tools to keep track of. Goal diggers, do you ever feel like doing business has never felt harder? Well, the good news is you don't need a miracle to hit your goals. You just need HubSpot. Their all-in-one customer platform can make growing your business so much easier. Imagine this: high-quality leads, fast-closing deals, wildly happy customers, and more benchmark-breaking quarters. It's not a miracle, it's HubSpot. Visit HubSpot.com to get started today. That's HubSpot.com. So, Marshawn, you emphasize this huge level of importance about achieving these massive dreams. Like, you are a goal digger at your core. And I want to know, and I want to kick off with some practical steps that our listeners could take to start cultivating this unshakable self-belief, because I've met you in real life and I think you have it in such a beautiful way. But not only do you have it, I think you can teach it.
Well, I think that's such a great place to dive in, because I firmly believe that we are here to live a life worthy of the calling we've received. But it's hard to make decisions in alignment with a higher calling, which leads to higher purpose, higher prosperity, higher level relationships, higher love, all of these things at a higher dimension. I think it's impossible to do that with confidence alone. I think what you need, I call it Godfidence, which is a combination of understanding who you are, whose you are, how you've been made, how you've been wired, because otherwise we're relying on ourselves. And we've got a lot of cracks in our foundation, which is not a bad thing. It gives an opportunity for us to actually give ourselves the challenge to believe bigger than what we've been through, what we're going through, who we've told we're supposed to be, who we couldn't be, all of these things. And so I think the first and foremost thing is recognizing that you're not here by yourself, that you have a higher purpose, And it's going to take courage to live a life worthy of the calling you've received. I think the second thing is vision. We all need a vision that causes us to rise up. And I think the number one thing that women are struggling with today is not low esteem. It's not even a lack of confidence. I think it's vision that's not worthy of the caliber of our life. It doesn't ask us to rise up. And so we get caught in, these airbrush lives on social media. We get caught up in thinking that even our businesses are our purpose, which is not true. It's dirty and filthy to make purpose about a paycheck. Now, what is it that I'm really here for? I am the embodiment of my purpose, but I need to get a vision. I need to tap into a vision that calls me higher, that invites the man that I want to meet one day to meet the highest version of me, that calls my clients to see the highest version of me so that they can be the highest version of themselves. And so I think unshakable self-belief comes in having higher belief, getting a higher vision, so that you have to challenge yourself each day to remember how unique and exquisite you really are. And it's a daily bath.
Yes.
It's definitely a daily bath for that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's break some of this down because I just think this is so powerful. And one of the things that I love is how you tie your work to a much deeper purpose. And I think that there are a lot of people listening right now and they're thinking, and they're including this word that you and I both don't like, which is I am just a photographer. I am just a mom. I am just a massage therapist. How does this connect to a bigger purpose? And I want to say this with so much grace because I think that a lot of people, we are passionate about what we do, right? But when you put that purpose in what your job is and maybe you don't love what you're doing, where does that leave us? Like, where do we go from here?
Yeah, I think, a word that can really anchor us in, I think, is the word mission. And realizing that if you're in an army or in the military, I grew up around 2 brothers, 8 male cousins. I used to manage NFL and NBA players, so I use a lot of masculine terminology, so stick with me. But if you're in the military, you're not going to be in the same position your entire time in the military. You're going to come in, you're going to learn a few things in the beginning season. As you get better, you grow in rank. And I think that's how we have to look at life as well, too. You're not going to be a general, a captain on day one, but there is going to be a time that the reason that you started in basic training is for the purpose of leadership. And I think that for women, we've got to understand we are called to lead. We are also first generation wealth creators now. So we don't have the examples that men have had. Our names have not been associated with leadership. So what they have been associated with is motherhood, with reproduction, with marriage, with love, with finding Prince Charming, and then allowing the man to write the checks, bring home the bacon, which actually is also masculine because they had to go out and shoot the pig to begin with. So all of these things that have not been associated with us. But here's the deal. So one of the things in my book, Believe Bigger, I wrote that book. I had just come out of doing an event called Speak for Pay, where we're working with people to build world-class speakers to build a world-class income. And we made $2 million in 1 hour. And I felt God say, I want you to step away. And I was like, it'll be a couple of months. I didn't know I wasn't as healthy as I was. And I didn't know that it would be a few years. I wrote this book. And what I realized over the last, previous 6 years that I'd been working with women in the trenches is I saw this pattern. And I would talk about it on stage in these business environments. And so I put this framework together called the Purpose Map. And it walks you through these 5 stages of divine reinvention. I think if we as women understood that where we are is where we are supposed to be here, but it doesn't mean that there's not a there. So that first stage is called discovery. This is where you learn the rules. This is where we get shitted on who we're told who we're supposed to be. This is where our identity around gender, around our roles, around what's appropriate. This is where we get shitted on. Here's who you should be, right? And then in the second stage, talent, this is where most of us as women get stuck, because this is where in first stage, we ask, who am I supposed to be? In the second question, we ask, who did I decide to be? We climb all these mountains. Motherhood, marriage, the mending mountain, making a difference. And for me, my mountain was the money mountain, because I didn't think that I was going to be chosen as a wife or maybe even be a mom, because people said because I was ambitious that obviously I didn't want that. So for me, I was just a business girl, or just a person who made A's, or just a girl who got scholarships, or just that. But we couldn't see the multifacetedness. The problem is when we climb these mountains and we claim these titles become idols. We worship them. And these labels we put on themselves, they become fables. These stories we tell ourselves. So now we've worshiped this position of motherhood or the job, the paycheck, the man or the kids. But what happens when he leaves? What happens when they grow up? And what happens when the job says we don't need you anymore? We don't know who we are. But those things are necessary. Yeah. And so things come into our lives. For me, I was engaged. It was infidelity. It came into my life and it split me up with this older version of success. And I was like, things like this don't happen to me because I make all the right decisions. How did I find myself here? And I realized that I had an addiction to success. I would never step into real mission because I was so focused on achievement and ambition. Most women right now, Jenna, who are listening to this, and the reason why people love you so much is because you meet them in this middle stage called the gap. And the gap is in between our comfort zone, which some of us don't even know we're in because it's been successful and it's been challenging. The comfort zone doesn't mean that it's easy, but it does mean that it's time for you to leave this season of life. And with infidelity, I was engaged and I called my wedding off 6 days before my wedding because I found out my fiance was cheating on me while he was on the plane coming to Atlanta for wedding week. It was such a dramatic thing that it brought me to my knees to say, like, why am I here? How did I end up here? And I think this is where your real mission begins, is when the oldest version of you ends and it catches you off guard and you're going to doubt everything about your worth, your readiness, your beauty, your goodness. You're going to question if the sky is blue. But then when you push through that, and there's some things you can do to shift out of that, there's a whole nother dimension called the glory zone, where we step out of this gap into our gifts and ultimately into influence. And this is what every woman is supposed to go through. The problem is no one told us that we were more than just that, and that we were actually here to lead from the very beginning. And I think when you see this purpose map, you'll be able to say, like, for people who remember what malls are or still go to actual malls, yes, you know, there's that place in the middle of the mall with the red dot that says you are here. If you could just see where you are now, and you could realize, oh, this didn't happen to me, it happened for me because something that's inside of me that I believe God is trying to bring out through me. And you need somebody to tell you that. And you need someone to remind you that this is not all that there is, and that it's really an awakening. And I think that's what we're seeing happening with women right now. But I don't think we always have the language for it. And that was a very long answer.
No, that was a beautiful answer. And oh my gosh, could I not agree more in that there is something happening, an uprising. I mean, we see it amongst our peers. We see it in our communities. We see it in our friend groups. I just think that women right now, and I think there are so many catalysts in it. I think coming out of COVID and like, okay, did I appreciate the slowness? What do I want to bring back in? Now it's like, holy crap, life is moving fast again. And where do I want to be? And what is my purpose in this season? And all of these different things. The more conversations I have with women, the more women are being honest about like, I don't know if I want to keep doing what I'm doing and I don't really know where I want to go. And so you said there are some things you can do to help ease the transition. Let's talk about those, because I think a lot of us need them right now. And just that fear of like letting the old identity die so that the newness can begin. Like that's terrifying and also wildly exciting. So walk us through that.
Yeah. So after I called my wedding off and the engagement, and it was a very public wedding. I had been on The Apprentice. I had been also managing NFL and NBA players. I had been highest paid defensive end in the NFL as my first client in my 20s. Then Rolls-Royce was my next client. Then Tiffany and Company, Nike and Gatorade, all within the first few months. I am 2 years out of law school. I've never done this before. And I didn't know I had a natural gifting around this. And I thought meeting this man was the sign that I was on the right path. My faithfulness to God and making the right decisions, all of that came crumbling down. But what I really discovered is that there are versions of ourselves. I now call them our shadow. And I know a lot of people talk about shadow work. I'm not really a student of that per se. But the shadow I'm talking about is the part of you that just is with you all the time, because you cannot see a shadow without the sun. And the versions of me, I had been in Miss America, I had been on the show The Apprentice, I had this sports career, I was fastest growing woman-owned sports agency in the country in less than a year. and I was an achiever. So the shadow looked really good. And I had to ask God, like, why did I end up here? And I think this is a question that we're really afraid to ask. Not why did this happen to me, but why did I end up here? I think the first thing of stepping out is asking the right question.
Yeah.
It's asking the right question, not asking from a victim, but asking from a place, even if it's messy, to dare to believe that you're really loved and needed and specifically chosen and you're here. Because I had at least that much belief, because I'm like, God, we've been doing this walk for a long time. And I know you love me. And I know you know how much I love you. So I know this is not what you have for me as a destination, but clearly you've got me here for a reason. How did I end up here also wasn't what did he do? It was, how did I choose this person? What eyes did I not have? Because this was a Monday morning before a Saturday wedding. And then so Sunday morning, people are getting ready to leave. They already had their plane tickets. You know, we're talking about dresses already paid for, dresses plural, cakes, flowers, photographers. Weddings are expensive, very expensive. We'll just use expensive. They're very expensive. And I'm leaning up against this vehicle, this luxury vehicle that my then fiance purchased for me. And now I don't know how I'm going to afford because I closed my business down, my sports agency down to become a bonus mom to his 3 children. And God whispered something to me. He said, you're going to change the lives of women like never before. And in my heart, I was like, one, couldn't you have sent me a memo? This is pretty dramatic to get me a message. I know where my prayer closet is. We talk every day. But then 2, I was like, I don't like women. The person I am now, there was not a version of who I was that would have had a heart to do the work that I do today. And I didn't know what God meant, but I knew that he meant it. And so when I asked God, why did this happen to me? It wasn't that to me question. It was as honest as I could say. It's like, God, what do you need me to know? That was just the beginning of a journey of discovery. So I think the first thing is to ask these questions from a place, so of knowing your love. Because if you ask the question from a lower dimension, a lower frequency of victimhood, then you're going to get an answer that may not be from above, but there are voices that come into us that keep us down. And so, but today, you know, on the other side, as I was coming out of that, I realized if other people looked at my life, they would say I was unfocused because I've done a lot of different things and that at a young age. And so I came up with the title of Reinvention Strategist. I was speaking at an event, keynote talk. And I remember before the keynote, I was in the hotel room. I had to go upstairs because it was still very fresh after the breakup. So I'm crying before, but I said something on stage and I said, you know, it's not about changing who you are. It's about changing what you do so that you can be who you are. And then God started talking to me about reinvention while I was at the airport at this one keynote talk. And I said, I'm going to teach women about reinvention. And this is why I am not sure what is next in my own life.
Yeah.
And so I think the biggest thing is to ask the right questions, believe that you're loved. And then when you see people, when you hear podcasts like this, when you see people online, not just when you are voyeurism and like just looking at people, but when you see something that stirs something inside of you, lean into that, because there's a lot of junk out here and there's a lot of superficial and a lot of things that'll just make you stay in a place of wanting. But lean into the voices, read books that help you. I call it make your baby leap, that cause something new inside of you to rise up. And that's where you can, I call it a burning bush moment also. Like if you're going to walk towards the burning bush, that's only because you got to be curious. So if you're not curious, you don't ask the right questions, you can't step into what's in your promised land. Your promised land is always on the other side of a burning bush. That's what you do for people, Jenna. That's really my goal, is to spark this curiosity that allows a new destiny to come in.
Let's talk real life for a sec. Okay, you know those marathon work days where you're hustling from one meeting to the next, and by the time you go to grab a coffee with a client or hug your partner, you're wondering if your deodorant is still going strong? Yeah, we've all been there. Luckily, Lumi Whole Body Deodorant is making sure we never have to worry about BO again. Unlike other deodorants, Lumi uses mandelic acid to stop odor before it starts, giving you up to 72 hours of odor control. Lumi was actually created by an OBGYN who saw how common BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. Now, fast forward 6 years, and it has over 300,000 five-star reviews. What I love about Lumi is that it's safe to use anywhere on your body. body, your pits, feet, under boobs, thigh folds, and even those sensitive areas. As someone who loves to work up a sweat and spends time in the sauna daily, I need something that will keep up with me. Lumi's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like a mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get 15% off all Lumi products with our exclusive code. And if you combine the 15% off with the already discounted starter pack, that equals over 40% off of their starter pack. Use the code GOLDDIGGER for 15% off your first purchase at lumideodorant.com. That's code GOLDDIGGER at LUMIDEODORANT.com. I will never forget an anniversary trip that Drew and I took years ago where we drove the Pacific Coast Highway from LA to San Francisco. And I was so excited because I was in charge of booking the Airbnbs for the trip. And after looking through all of our options, I found the one. Found this farmhouse where we could rent out a room and wake up and collect our own eggs for breakfast in the morning, feed their alpacas, and play with their goats. When we arrived at this Airbnb, the hosts were there waiting for us with a chilled bottle of wine. They showed us our room and bathroom, and then they gave us a tour of their farm. Now, looking back, that trip planted a seed for us to dream about owning our own rental property and not overcomplicating the process. Since then, we've become real estate lovers and super hosts on Airbnb, and honestly, it is one of my favorite parts of my job. Now, something that people don't realize is that you don't necessarily need an investment property to do this. You can create an Airbnb revenue stream from your own home or even host a single room in your house. Your home might be worth more than you think. Find out how much at airbnb.com/host. I am obsessed with this, and I am someone who is so much like you, Marshawn. I think that's why we connected is, you know, we have that like masculine energy of just like that push. Like we could push and work ourselves to any solution, but we also have this like multi-passionate like excitement about life of like, I could do this and I could do this and I could do this and I could do this. And that's exciting to us, or I think some people would be like, this is way too overwhelming. But I also love this idea of reinvention because I think both you and I, if anyone asked us like, where will you be in 5 years? It's like, I have no idea. I literally, I couldn't tell you. Do you feel that way, or is that just me? Because I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. So
I like not having to know what I'm doing tomorrow. I think that's part of deciding and knowing yourself. Yeah. But when you and I met, it was such a beautiful experience for me because you asked the question around, you know, leaving things behind. And I feel like I'm in this reset stage, which I've been in the high-end business coaching space for 14 years. Yeah. That's like in dog years. That's
You're like a grandma.
Yeah. I get my hair colored now almost every time I go, every 2 weeks at this point. And I realize with some of the younger ones, like, when I tell them that, I'm like, you were in high school or elementary school when I started. Okay. Yep. But here's the thing. It is very humbling to not know what your next is. But here, other things come into your life that require you to change your priorities. So for me, I mentioned I was a bonus mom when I was previously engaged. I met a different wonderful man. Let me clarify so you don't send hate mail to the man you see me posting online now. This is a long time ago. It's, I guess 13 or so years ago. But the man that I'm married now, Jack, his name is actually Jack Daniels. We had 3 children in 6 minutes in 2020. I gave birth to triplets in 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic with no toilet paper, no Clorox wipes. People didn't even know where to find a mask. There's all the rage about masks. I thought I was going to have to deliver my children without my husband because that's how strict the restrictions were in the hospitals. And so that changed my life. When I say 2020 was a year of miracles, I released a devotional called 100 Days of Believing Bigger. With 6-month-old triplets, I'm writing that while the doctors are telling us we have a 4% likelihood of even going full term. They just turned 4 years old this past week. All health, like so miraculously healthy. And I don't want to squander that miracle on my old identity of even my reinvented identity of helping people. Because when God said, when I was at that, leaning on that car that the ex had purchased for me, he said, you're going to change the lives of women like never before. I realize now he was talking about my girls. All this time, everything I've been able to do with helping women to step into becoming millionaires, find their voice, elevate their visibility, get on TV, get book deals, like awesome. but it was practice for my 3 girls, right? And so when you and I met, you looked at me and you just like broke me down. It was just a look. And you said, you only have a little bit more time before they're off to school, you know? And I could see the love and the intention in your eyes. And this is why women with similar experiences, it's not the same of hearing it from a woman who's not in business who tells you that, right? But you being in business, you building at such a high level in a really short period of time. And by the way, y'all, if you ever get to sit in a space with Jenna, you know, I'm like, Jenna, when are you going to like have a live event or something? Because this girl is a marketing savant. She's a savant, but it's because, and who would know that from your photographer identity, right? Yeah. Like you probably didn't even know what you possessed fully until you walked towards some kind of a burning bush. But when you start doing this and you begin to get this new identity into this holy and this awesome reinvention, and then you have a new miracle that comes in, you reevaluate. And my question now is, God, how do you intend for me to steward and develop and grow my daughters' lives, my marriage, my business, my mission, while keeping me healthy and sane and all the things? And I have no answer for that. So right now I'm in a place of experimentation. I'm leading into things that I have not done because everything else was always working. I'm taking bigger swings in more strategic ways. I think it's important for women. It's important for mamas. It's important for those of us with multi-passionate lives to share how hard and messy it is. You know, like this weekend, I was like, I hope we can make it through just to get to Monday with all the big feelings, you know? Yeah. So I'm still figuring it out. And it's the most humbling and most rewarding season of my life, I think. But I'm still in a place of experimentation and resetting.
You know, it's funny, Marshawn, because to set this stage for people, we were literally sitting on the floor of my hotel room when I asked you that question. And we both were just tears. I mean, like we were like holding hands, like crying, because it's, you know, I think our kids are growing so fast. Like your baby's just turned 4, saw the birthday party. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I think, you know, I was just talking to my family about this weekend of like, we have such a short window where like we are our children's main influence. Like they get to learn the world through our lens and then they're off. And it's like, you know, and it's so tricky too, because I just have been feeling, and I think your message today is just speaking to me on so many levels, because I've been feeling all these nudges and questions and things and what to let go and what to move forward with. And there's a part of me that's like, well, just wait. There's only a couple more years and then I can make these decisions because the kids will both be in school and it'll be a whole new ball game. And it's like, no, like lean into these nudges. And I think for anyone listening, I would say the same thing that I said to you, Marshawn, of just like, we have our whole lives to like chase these huge things down and these beautiful ideas. And I think when we get into rooms like the one that you and I were in with brilliant people who are at very different stages of lives as us, it's easy for their ideas to hit us and for us to be like, well, I could do that. Yes. And I could do that. And I could do that. And we're multi-passionate, right? So we could do it all. And it can get so hard to discern, like, what is the purpose of this right now? Like where I am. And I think we connected on such a soul level because we are literally watching our children grow so, you know, intimately. And it's like, I love what you said, where you're like, God was talking about my babies, not, you know, the masses. And I think that for a lot of us, it's almost like we have to put our eyes back down to these little humans that are right in front of us that we get to be with. Yeah. It's
I will
hard,
never
though.
forget the look that you gave me, though.
Yeah.
The way that look came across. And it was such a gift because this is like right after Thanksgiving, I think. Yeah. So it's the end of the year, getting ready to go into a new year. I think it was one of the most important conversations I could have going into a new year, and also coming up on the anniversary of my father passing away. I was so emotional at that mastermind. And I knew I would be. I was nervous to go because I knew it was just the first time with the holiday, and then his anniversary of his death is coming up. And it was so impactful. But I think also for women, you've got to not compare because I've been in a place where I've been operating at high levels of visibility since I was like 13. I was doing the Miss America competition as a teen. And back, if people remember, you can look this up online, these things called newspapers. With that, I think I have a perspective around there's always going to be another thing, but also there's always but put me in, coach, I can do this too. And I can do this and I can do that. I think another season that a lot of us as women have to realize is that we've got kids at different age, or having them at different ages, and then our parents are getting older.
Yeah.
And taking inventory. And also, if I could say this for women, have the conversations about what your parents want. Things can happen really quickly, and the stress that it can add on our lives of not being prepared for those things, but also just enjoying the time with them. I think it's not just our kids. I think enjoying time with people is just so important, and learning how to do that. One thing that I heard this weekend, as I was just kind of praying again about this next vision I have of helping women step into high-end income and high-profile influence, and wondering where the resistance is, God said, resistance is assistance. Really lean in and understand that it's actually getting your attention. And I've come to a realization between having my mom have some health issues, that now I'm her power of attorney, my dad passing away, having 3 toddlers, it's not going to be like these clear blue waters. And now this is where the next level of leadership and your capacity for real transformation, like a bigger mission, comes in being able to manage these things, not ignore them. And finding the right balance of priority. Because I don't think that God can bless who you're not supposed to be, and not where you hide out, and not even where you want to be. So it's like, if this is where you have me, then you're growing my capacity now, my depth, my sincerity, my authenticity, but also my heart condition for what's really important. Because really, I was getting my hair done the other day, and I sat next to a producer from CNN and NBC. And we had the best conversation. And she took my hair appointment time. I was supposed to be there at 10. I got the 11. And the whisper that came to me was, I don't need your help, daughter. Anytime, it can all go like that. It can all accelerate or grow or be taken away. And so it's like, Lord, help me to be just settled in where I'm at.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm a strong believer. I've been talking about both faith and business for 14 years, not something I intended to do. But that's my language. And I think it's important for you to be centered in your soul, be centered in your spirit. And I think that women are better at that than men. And if we really lean into that versus try to be like them, then our businesses will grow, our families will have more peace in them. And as long as we keep, getting Jenna eyes, have someone who can look at us and say, hey, mama, I see you, but let's remember, we've been chosen for really the biggest mission is inside of our 4 walls of our home.
Yes. Goal diggers, we all know the B2B landscape can be a bit complex. From lengthy buying cycles to complicated decision-making processes, reaching your target audience can be tough. But I found a solution tailored just for you: LinkedIn ads. A whopping 79% of B2B content marketers say LinkedIn produces the best results for paid media. That's because with LinkedIn ads, you're not just casting a wide net and hoping for the best, you're strategically building relationships and driving real results. We're talking about a platform with over 1 billion members, including 180 million senior level executives and 10 million C-level executives. You are networking with the actual decision makers. And LinkedIn's targeting and measurement tools are specifically designed for B2B marketers, meaning you're not wasting time or money on irrelevant leads. In fact, in the tech industry, LinkedIn ads have been shown to generate 2 to 5 times higher return on ad spend compared to other social media platforms. Using LinkedIn ads allows you to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to industry trends and developments, whether it's finding the perfect partner for a collaboration or uncovering new opportunities for growth. LinkedIn can be your secret weapon. Make B2B marketing everything it can be and get $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/goal to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/goal. Terms and conditions apply. I'll never forget when I got my first online course idea. I was so excited about the content, but I was so worried and overwhelmed with how to create it and where to host it and how do I let my students log in. But then I discovered Kajabi and everything clicked into place. Kajabi is the ultimate all-in-one platform that helps you build awesome online businesses and make steady, predictable revenue. I love it so much, I have been using it for a decade, and it has only gotten better over time. You can take all of your amazing skills, passions, and experiences and transform them into empowering online courses, membership sites, subscription podcasts, fun communities, personalized coaching, and so much more. Kajabi doesn't take a single cent of your revenue. That's right. You get to keep 100% of what you earn because everything is owned and controlled by you. With Kajabi, you get all the tools you need in one spot: detailed analytics, easy ways to get paid, awesome email marketing tools, and customizable website templates. And guess what? You don't even need to have a massive audience to make a sustainable income. Thousands of creators on Kajabi are making 6 and 7 figures with fewer than 50,000 followers. So if you are a one-person show needing a helping hand, Kajabi is your secret weapon. Right now, Kajabi is offering a free 30-day trial to start your business if you go to kajabi.com/goal. That's KAJABI.com/goal. Visit kajabi.com/goal to join the creators and entrepreneurs who have made over $7 billion. One thing that I think you are so, amazing at, prolific at, is just the art of resilience. And even in the stories that you've shared today, I think it's so evident. And I think resistance can often lead to resilience too, right? Like we have to be adaptable. We have to lean in. For people that are listening to this, I think, there's so many studies about how women are like really scared of change. And it's like the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about resilience. How do we flex that muscle? How do we grow our tolerance for resistance so that we can be more resilient? Because you and I both know, you were like, it's a miracle that I'm here right now today with the kids and getting off to school and all of that. And it's like, we are so resilient, but we don't even recognize it. And we don't really even understand how to strengthen it. Where do we go?
Oh, goodness. So one of the practices I was walking women through inside of our masterminds over the years, I put inside the book, Believe Bigger. I wasn't sure, I feel like it's a workshop memoir book, if you will, but it's this practice called the inner vault. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to take inventory of your own wins and your own awesomeness, because you've told yourself, we tell ourselves a story based off of how we're feeling in the moment, and facts are not the truth. Facts are just facts, but it's not the whole truth when destiny is at play. And so my daughter this morning, well, 3, all of them in different ways, but one more than other, had big feelings this morning. Does that mean all the revelation I had, all the frameworks that have been coming to me, does that mean I'm not supposed to lean in? Because part of me was like, I can't do this. I can't take this. I can't even think straight to sit and write. And that's a fact that this happened, but it's not true that I'm not supposed to also move forward in my own identity. Because the best thing that I believe, and this is after coaching women for 14 years, speaking on stages for 30, the best thing that a woman can do is go after her dreams and bring her daughters and her sons along with them, right? If we run away from that, then there's a level we're teaching them something else. So I think part of resilience is again, leaning into it, but telling ourselves a different story. Take inventory. One simple thing that you can do today is to write down all of the things that you've survived, that you've thrived through. And then to read your own words. You can sit there and you can cry until you get the first one down. And if you have trouble doing it, then you don't get up until you get some words down. That is the job, because you can't let somebody else pour into that space more than you can, because then their words become your identity versus your understanding of yourself and your understanding of what you've been through. And I've been going through a few things in terms of relationship changes with some, friendships that were really core to my heart. And I've had to really watch my negative inner self-talk that's trying to peep up. I call it little me inside of Believe Bigger, versus listening to the voice of future me. And so that little voice is loud, and little me guides most of our decisions, including our decisions of what we say that are based off of what we say to ourselves about ourselves. So the most resilient thing that you can do is write a new story in your closet with your journal. And it needs to be a long list. It should be no less than 100 things that you can say that you love about yourself, that you've been able to overcome, how you're proud of yourself. And the harder it is, the more you're shedding as you push through to write those things down. Those are the words. And you read those things back. on the days when you remember that you are a mother, you are also more than a mother. And you are a wife, but you're more than a wife. And you are a business owner, but you're so much more than just a moneymaker, right? You are a woman who loves people. You're a woman who gives and serves. And you're a woman who has overcome. You survived some stuff. You're still standing. Yeah. That's how we develop resilience, is we tell ourselves the real stuff, not the artificial airbrush stuff that we see on people's timelines.
That is so good. It's so interesting too. And I don't know, I'm sure you can relate, but Marshawn, I feel like so often my kids are just like holding up the mirror of like the places I need healing. And it's like so interesting too, because I want their inner dialogue to just be like so strong and powerful and positive. And the other day, Quinn, who's 2, was like, "You can do it, mommy, you got this." And it was like, I was literally like peeling a banana or something. But it was just so funny to me of like, okay, this is her belief, but like we can hand down beliefs to our children, but also like, do we believe these things to be true for us? Like, I just often look at my daughters like, you are the most beautiful things in the world. You are the coolest kids. Like, I love being with you. And then I'm like, and the same is true for me, right? And it's so interesting because it can be so easy to see it all within everyone else, whether you're scrolling Instagram or you're with people you admire or you're looking at your children or whatever it is. And it's like all of those beliefs we hold so beautifully for other people are also true for us. And we so often forget that.
We do. And I think being, in scripture, it says as iron sharpens iron.
Yes.
So one man sharpens another. I call it sister sharpening, though, when it's with women. And that most of us as women have an iron deficiency in our physical bodies, but also in our relationships. And I saw this question. It was a celebrity being interviewed. I can't actually remember the celebrity or the interviewer, but I remember the question was, do you have people in your life who don't need something from you? Mm-hmm. Like friendships, where you're not the one who's always giving and pouring. And I think that's important to have people. Your friendships, even in business or wherever, should not be based off of business to be really a friendship. Yeah. But being around people who see a different version of you, who call you into that. My girlfriends, I have 2 big sisters. I call them sister mamas now because they're older than me, but they have covered me for over 20 years now. And they treat me like a little sis, but we are all big sisses to each other when we're having real conversations. And when I was going through a season of not being able to conceive a child and not sure why, they would not let me forget this vision and the dream and revelation they had from above that I was going to have. They said a man child. Now, we all know now that I ended up having triplets, but it was just the belief that I would one day have a child when it would hurt to believe it. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to talk about it. It was like, okay, if it happens, it happens. That's not belief. Yeah. They would not let it go. And they called me. I talked at the beginning about vision. They would cast it back to me. And having that is the most sacred thing. They are, I think my mother, my father, my brother, and then these 2 women are one of the reasons, a key reason why I've been able to do so much is because they hold my arms up. Yeah. And they stretch me to believe, and they see a version of me that is, even in the weariness and the brokenness and the bitterness, when those seasons come, they see that. And I think that's what we need as women. And I think in this girl boss, boss lady, boss chickie movement, I think it's important for us not to get caught up in the superficial, for us to really remember the substance, because that's going to be important now more than ever. And people out there are really hurting. And if you're just a girl boss, like if you just have a pretty website and you can just do that, but the substance of who you are, having women around you, people around you who invite your substance, that's what this world needs right now. And I think that's where we're going to see a big shift in this next year, in these next couple of years, is those who have done the work to really work on their inner belief, as you're calling it, also the resilience, daring to leave behind, to step out of their comfort zone, to figure out what that promised land and glory zone could be. In the middle, though, it will be a war zone. Yeah. As you press through that, you're going to have the goods. It's going to lead the other women out of their woods. You got to lead them out of the wilderness, but and it doesn't mean we have to get out of it by ourselves. Yeah. We just have to be willing to take one step in front of the other.
Yeah. Oh, Marshawn, this was such a gift. You are such a gift. Where can everybody find out more about you, connect with you, get your hands on your book? Like, give me all the places.
Well, I want to say I'd like for us to go back to that hotel room and have some more guacamole.
Yes, same. Oh my God.
On the floor. You can find me. You can find all of my Believe Bigger books in the library of resources at believebigger.com. And then at marshawn.com, you can click a button that says start here, and you can get free live class with me on stepping into alignment with your assignment. One of my big goals in this season is helping women to believe bigger and live bolder so they can prosper higher. And I think for us as women, if we grow our inner belief that we will walk into a different level of prosperity that the world has never seen amongst women. And that's what my goal is right now, is to help women merge both their mission, their belief, their faith, and their prosperity.
Well, you're doing it. You're doing it, Mama. And I am so grateful that we got to listen to you today. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This was such a gift.
Thank you for this invitation, and you are a gift. I can't say it enough. That was such a powerful conversation. And I know that I really believe that your next dimension of your voice and how it's going to be impacting women around the world is only just beginning. All these last few years, it's just been practice.
I love it. I'm here for that. Ever since I met Marshawn at a mastermind at the end of last year, I have thought about that conversation we had on the floor of my hotel room. We were amongst incredible women, but there was just something on a soul level that connected me to Marshawn in this stage of life that we're both in. And I just want to say, if you are someone listening to this episode and you're struggling with this big question of like, what is my purpose in life? I challenge you to consider this question. What is the purpose in my life right now? What is the purpose of this stage and season I find myself in? Feel like that question has anchored me to some of the shifts I've personally been feeling, to this deep desire of what truly matters and how I want to show up in my life, on the internet, and in my family these days. And with tears in my eyes, I said this to Marshawn, and I am so grateful that she was there to receive it, because I think it was a message that we both needed in that moment. I hope that no matter where you're at, what you believe, what you're doing today, or where you find yourself, I hope today's conversation hit you deep. I hope that something that was said left a spark that is just waiting to ignite on a whole new level in your life. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for listening to the Goal Digger podcast. Thank you for being a part of this community. Thank you for hearing us today. I so appreciate you. Of course, until next time, I've got to say it, keep on digging your biggest goals. And remember that you were made for something so incredible. And I just can't wait for us to continue to uncover exactly what that is. I'm over here giving you a virtual high five because you just finished another episode of the Goal Digger podcast. Did that go by way too fast for anyone else? If you want more, head over to goaldiggerpodcast.com for show notes and all the discount codes from today's sponsors. And if you're looking for a new crew of movers and shakers like you to bounce ideas and ask questions, be sure to join my exclusive community for Goal Diggers on Facebook. The link's waiting for you at goaldiggerpodcast.com.